A total creeper hit on me at the pool. I'm 9 months pregnant. What are some of the best worst pickup stories you have? Gave a speech for a class once, and after my speech ended I went to take a pee and get a drink. On the way back to class, a cute Asian from the class was in the hall, looking like she was waiting for someone. I assumed her boyfriend, since he was also in the class with us. She saw me and lit up, asked if I wanted to join her for a cig. I don't smoke but I obliged to keep her company since other people's speeches suck, and we headed outside. We joked around a bit. She tried flirting but I have a GF and I didn't reciprocate. Figured she was just a bubbly person. Right when we're about to head back, she hands me a slip of paper with her number and says you should give me a call later today. We can get high and get to know each other better. I ask her about her boyfriend and she says he's working later. I of course politely declined. Went back to class and spent the rest of the day wondering why the P-script scenarios always happen when I am in a happy, committed relationship but never when I am single. When we got back to class, she gave her BF a peck on the cheek and sat back down next to him. You tend to seem happier and more approachable in general when you're in a good relationship. I've rarely been hit on when I'm single, but as soon as I'm with someone and we're doing well, the flirting begins. I was walking down the street, in the middle of December, hands stuffed in my pea coat, walking behind a young man who looks pretty paranoid. He finally stops and asks, Do you have a gun? I pull my hands out of my pocket and shrug. No gun. Oh. Do you have any weed? Nope dude. Sorry. Oh. Do you have a boyfriend? Priorities man. Priorities. I was walking down a street in Berkeley often lined with older homeless guys and panhandlers. It was a warm day so I was wearing a cute, but modest, black and white polka dot 50s style dress that always got me a lot of attention from the men. Anyways, walking by two older guys sitting on the sidewalk near each other, but far away enough to not encroach on each other's change-seeking turfs when the first one I pass hollers something to the effect of hey girl, let me see that dress on my bedroom floor. Ironic because, you know, to which the second homeless guy responds, without missing a beat, hey don't you talk to my wife that way, she's a lady, TLDR. Random Berkeley bum defended my honor. Adorable until he follows you home and asks you what's for dinner. I was really hoping his pickup line would be room for one more. Try it. Post results. Godspeed. I was arrested in high school for a spontaneous bout of stupidity and as I got into the cop car I realized that there was a teenager doing a ride along with the cop. I didn't think much of it seeing as that I was, you know, pretty busy focusing on how much trouble I was going to be in. A few days later, as I settled into my permanent grounding, I got on Facebook. Lo and behold, I have a Facebook message. The boy doing the ride along with the cop had written down my contact information and found me on Facebook just so that he could send me, hey girl, I just wanted you to know that I hated arresting a woman as beautiful as you. I was walking down the street with my mother, as it was summertime. I was in shorts and platform sandals, which were in fashion at the time. I walked by two guys. One of them starts telling them he loves me and he wants to go out with me. My mom asked him if he was crazy, to which he replied, I'm crazy for her. I was 9. Twist, the guys were 10 and they were all playing family on the playground. I was hanging out with a friend the day before Easter. She had to drop by another friend's house for a quick errand so I went with her. They had an Easter party going on for this woman's children and a few of their friends. The parents were having a barbecue and the kids had done an Easter egg hunt and moved on to painting pictures for their parents. A normal enough fellow started chatting with me and after about 10 minutes with the group I realized he was there with his 2-year-old and the baby's mum. I wasn't sure if they were together but I just assumed they were and left it at that. So when we went to leave, I was totally taken aback when he pulled me from the doorway where everyone was saying goodbye to each other. He shook my hand and whispered SHHHHH. It was so great to meet you. SHHHHH. He put his finger to his lips, winked, then turned me back around to face the group. I just stumbled through my normal goodbyes and left without acknowledging him. While walking away, I unfolded what he slipped me while shaking my hand. It was his number and a note that said you are cute. Text me, torn from a large chunk of the Easter painting his child had proudly handed him 10 minutes before. TLDR. Father of the Year destroys his child's masterpiece to hit on me in broken English in front of his baby mama. I think I would walk straight to the mother and say, "Your husband gave me this," and leave. Walking down the main street of a medium-sized town with my girlfriend and her sister. Alright looking guy in alright looking car, maybe about 22-25, pulls up and shouts to the sister, "Hey, you, in the blue, come get in the car, go with me." She shrugs, walks over, talks to him for a few seconds, gets in the car. They were married 4 months later. Last I heard, it was still going strong, but that's been a while. Ride with me, for my pleasure. My parents were walking through Target when this stumpy guy walks up to my mom. He says, "Sugar zero, sugar zero, sugar zero." Mom laughs and asks him what he means. The guy goes, "If anybody asks, you can tell them that I whispered sweet nothings to you." My dad was laughing too hard to care. TL Dr. Mom got told sweet nothings by a gnome. Tyrion got mad game son. I have very, very long hair. It reaches below my knees. If it helps visualize, I'm a slim Asian female. Damn, girl, your hair be crazy, like a motherfucking horse tail. Hey, you should know I'm a total stallion, babe. This guy leans in really close and starts stroking it. I get the frick out of there as fast as possible. He calls after me in a gruff plead, or, "Come on, girl, lemme see if all your hair be long beautiful." I briskly walk away, but not before I hear him turn back towards a buddy and swear he thinks I've got a crazy long bush. I've also had a dude just grab a boob out of nowhere. I punched him on the ear. The back of your head is ridiculous. I get a new job teaching computer courses to adult classes of adult learners. I go to check out an apartment I found on Craigslist near my new job. The renter and I exchange some emails. I tell her about my job. She tells me about the nutrition supplements she sells. She also tells me entirely too much about her life, her ex-husband, and her custody battle over her 13-year-old son. Boundary issues. But I respond very sympathetically towards her, because I'm a people pleaser with my own boundary issues. We hit it off. The address is a house, and I figure it must be a duplex of some sort. The renter invites me in. She's a 40-something woman, fairly attractive, and I'm in my early 20s at the time. She introduces me to her son who's in the living room playing Guitar Hero. Then she shows me the room, which is just off the living room, separated by a curtain. I tell her I am surprised. I thought she'd listed an apartment. No, she explains. It's just the room, but it comes furnished with a dresser and this waterbed. Don't worry about the curtain, she says. You'll have plenty of privacy. You just need to turn this fan on. She turns the fan on. She sits on the bed and asks me if I like waterbeds. I tell her I've never been on one. She invites me on the bed with her. I demur. She cajoles. She promises me it'll be fun. I don't get hit on much. I'm a good looking guy, big quiet, and I'm just not used to having signals sent my way. But at this point I put it together that she is inviting me to engage in physical shenanigans, while her son is 15 feet away, on the other side of a curtain. Little Dr. Stephen Poop was aroused despite my common sense. But common sense won the day. I get out of there as politely as possible. Tell her I have to think the room situation over. Epilogue. The next week, guess who shows up at my level I Windows Vista class? And guess who pretended he'd never seen her before in his life? This guy. I like how you have to specify that the adult classes were for adults. I was waiting for the last train from Paris to go back to my good old suburbs. So this is right after midnight. The station is quite empty. Only a few people left around. Should probably mention I'm a girl and alone. Anyway, I have about 15 minutes left to wait, and this old guy just comes and sits next to me. After a few minutes he gets the courage to ask me, "Could I ask you a favor?" "Sure." "Oh, no, never mind, it's okay." He looked really sad and miserable about something, so I try and be nice and I insist, thinking he's just going to want to talk about something. "Could I see you feet?" "Excuse me, I think you have beautiful feet. Could I just see them? I won't touch or anything. I just want to look. You can keep your socks on if you want." At that point I'm quite weirded out. I was wearing some Converse, and this guy is making me feel bad for telling him I don't want to show him my feet. He kept insisting with this miserable look on his face. He even suggested to get on the next train, and if there's too many people I don't have to if I'm being shy or something. I actually felt like I had to apologize to him because I didn't want to show him my feet. TLDR. I apologized to a creeper who wanted to see my feet. Bonus story. Same night. Got off the train and walking towards my dad's car waiting for me. Other car drops their window and someone mumbles at me, "Hey, what's your name?" At which I'm too tired to think and mechanically reply like they're asking something from me. "Sorry, I don't have a name." Felt embarrassed at the time about being so dumb, but turns out it's quite a funny way to get rid of weirdos. D. I love that this had a bonus story after the credits like a freaking Marvel movie. Also, creepy. So I witnessed this at a bar one night. This was at a college bar in California. Anyways, this young couple were sitting together at the table next to mine and it was apparent they were dating, holding hands, smiling at each other constantly, etc. and were minding their own business when out of nowhere a guy in his early 20s and clearly a bit drunk walks up to their table and looks at the girl 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 and looks at the girl. Well, hearing this, I look over at the boyfriend and he has this look on his face that just screams, "What the frick?" So here's how the rest of the conversation goes. Boyfriend: "She's my girlfriend, man. So yeah, I mind." Guy: "You're dating your sister? Isn't that illegal?" B: "No, she's not my sister." Clearly agitated: "She's my girlfriend." G: "Oh, so she was your sister, and now she's your girlfriend?" B: "No, leave us alone, kid." At this point the drunk guy turns around and yells for his friend to come over. G: "Hey, guy 2, come over here. This guy is dating his sister." So next thing I know, this well-groomed dressed guy, clearly gay, comes over to the table to see what kind of trouble his buddy is getting into. Guy: "He's dating his freaking sister." Guy 2: "Guy 2, isn't that illegal?" Guy: "That's what I said." Well, now the couple are pretty pissed off and the girl suggests to her boyfriend that they go somewhere else. As they gather their things and start to walk away, the second guy walks up to the girl and says, "Hey, would you mind if I talk to your brother?" And this look of horror spreads across her face as she realizes this gay guy wants to talk to her man. The couple basically ran out of the bar and the two guys busted up laughing from the reaction they got. TLDR. Mind if I talk to your sister? I'm trying to figure out which one was the wingman. I was in the backseat of my friend's truck with a girl I just met riding home one day. I make small talk. Maybe 2 minutes of pleasantries are exchanged. Throughout the ordeal I am totally enthusiastic and just the embodiment of suave. I ask her, "Do you have a boyfriend? Number, do you want one?" Laughter. "Oh, you're serious?" "Yeah, babe. Sure. I will never be that cool again." Keep in mind I'm normally fairly shy around new people. TLDR. I felt like Fabio. My mom was working at her pharmacy job at the pickup counter when a man came up to her and gave her a pickup line, something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm not here to pick up medicine. I'm here to pick you up." That man is my father. That's fantastically lame. There used to be this veteran who went to my college and always wore his uniform. And he used to hit on me in the creepiest ways until I reported his butt. It started off as just friendly banter every once in a while until one night he has me cornered alone in the bus shelter. "I bet you taste good, little princess, like cotton candy." I walk down to the next stop. My reaction: bleh, ugh, EWW, upvote, blurg, etc. I was riding my bike and got hit by a car. The guy stopped and we exchanged information. I get a call later and it's him, asking me if I was alright, which I thought was normal and nice of him. But then he follows it up with if I would want to get lunch with him. He then proceeded to call me every day, leaving message like, "Wanna get lunch? I'm really hungry." You don't break a person's tailbone then ask them out. I usually buy them dinner before breaking their tailbones. When I'm drunk I always seem to want to hit on lesbians. I always have a very good time with it too, and I've gotten a few numbers, but it's not like I was trying to convert them or something, so I always wake up the next morning wondering what the frick I was trying to pull. I made a few good friends that way though, haha. I tend to hit on lesbians when drunk, too, only that usually ends up going a completely different direction. My girlfriend and I were walking along the beach in SD last year. An older gentleman, probably late 50s or so, came up to me and said, "Son, if I had your body and my money I'd be unstoppable. How about we put the two of them together?" My girlfriend just about fell over laughing while I tried to politely decline. As we walked away he let me know, "You're even more fine watching from behind, still haven't lived that one down." This is a gem. I'm happy I read this far down. I was walking back to my car one night and a group of young guys were hanging out on the sidewalk, taking up most of the width of it. My friend and I had to walk through their group. As we walked though, a guy stepped in really close to me and whispered, "Girl, I'll buy you Starbucks every night." I had no idea how to respond, so I just smiled and kept walking. But later, I had to wonder, do non-white men think the way to a preppy-ish looking white woman's heart is the promise of daily Starbucks runs? Because, well, he's kind of right, I guess. I'd just like to tell you, I'm using this tomorrow. I'll return with results. OP delivers. Just used this on a girl from work. She said, "But I didn't drink coffee." I reply, "Then I'll buy you a beer." I don't drink beer either, you know that. So I reply, "Then I'll buy you whatever fruity drink you want, as long as it has a fun name." Long story short, I have a date tonight. This isn't mine, as I've never been hit on. But when I was going to college I was sitting in the cafeteria with a group of like 11 people who all knew each other and were D&D nerds together. There were about 4 very attractive girls in this group. One kind of sweat-smelling, mouth-breathing newish guy who had only recently joined our little group leans over to one of the girls in the group, brags about how he can do a perfect Zap Brannigan impersonation. She asks to see, and he goes, "If I said you had a beautiful body, would you take your pants off and dance around a little?" in Zap's voice. We laugh in that awkward, not sure if rapist way. I have to leave for class. The next day he gets to the table before the girl from earlier does, strikes a heroic pose, and says, "Kipf, I have made it with a woman. Inform the men." The girl is mortified that he not only told everyone, but told everyone in Zap Brannigan's voice. Fortunately he had the good sense to be too embarrassed to show his face again after that. TLDR, Zap Brannigan's pickup lines apparently work. Till that I'm not the only person that would fall for a Zap Brannigan pickup line. Buying condoms at a gas station late at night. 17-year-old girl should do, or anyone for that matter. I paid, and as I reached for the box, the old Indian cashier grabbed my wrist and said, "Take me with you." It was so creepy. I'll never forget the desperate look on his face. Freaking chills. I was at a beach with 3 other friends. It was a weekday, so there wasn't a crowd, but a bearable amount of people to handle. We were enjoying ourselves and my friend and I were just floating about and talking, when I then noticed this tan guy not too far away from us. He was staring straight at us, with an extremely creepy and perverted grin. We decided to swim back to shore and started to take pictures, and guess who decides to come along? Creepy tanned guy. At this point we still really haven't reacted, but then he starts running back and forth on the beach, never taking his eyes away from me and my group. He eventually starts doing his little running routine closer and closer to us. When we thought it couldn't get weirder than that, it did. Every time he ran towards us, he slowed down, eyed us up and down, then smiled his creepy smile and began chanting. He was chanting actual gibberish, no English words, or any language you'd recognize. It was like he was performing a freaking ritual on us. It was creepy as heck. TLDR. Creepy tan guy tried to hit on me and my friends using some mystic ritual at the beach. I bet he was charming. While I was in Korea, the local top prostitute, 50-year-old woman that looked like she transmitted herpes through the air, asked my friend if he wanted a massage. He politely declined and then she turned her sights on me and asked the same. I was slightly drunk and instead of just saying no, I exclaimed "frick number." She then proceeded to give me a nasty look and kicked me in the shin. It's a proud moment when you can say you've been kicked by Songton Sally. Anybody that's been to Ozen will know who I am talking about. I take it no one's been to Ozen. I was working at a restaurant in my hometown, and a guy walked by and gave me the double take. He came back a few minutes later to talk to me. I had recognized him right away. I had a serious crush on him back in middle school. He was a few grades above me, so of course he never spoke to me, and I was also quite the ugly duckling. As he started to flirt with me, I realized that he didn't recognize me, and it made me laugh. I had to explain why I was laughing, and he got kind of embarrassed. He left me his number and walked by the restaurant a few more times to smile at me. It made me realize how far I've come and was a huge ego boost. I had a similar experience with a really hot guy in high school. Didn't have the time of day for me then. 4 years later he was following me around at a party. I was amused and didn't hook up with him. Bleh. I'll go into length if any interest. Took Reddit advice. Bought guy a drink. Got laughed at and drink poured into potted plant. Went home crying. Okay, since there is some interest I'll fill in the blanks. I don't often go out, let alone to bars. I'm not a drinker, but I decided to humor my boredom and go out by myself. I put on a nice Flora Springfield dress and hit the town. I'm at the bar sipping away at whatever I had bought that night when I spot a cute guy sitting at a table drinking with 2 other guys. He's laughing, having fun, and his smile is attractive. Now I am not the type to approach at all. Crap, I haven't even had a boyfriend out of school that one time. I'm pretty dang quiet and shy. Tend to avoid these kinds of situations altogether. But this night I had seemed to have bolstered all my courage that I had stored over the last 21 years for one single move. I was going to buy that nice smiling mother a drink. I knew a large percentage of guys liked this maneuver thanks to Reddit. I would simply ask the bartender if she knew what the guy was drinking, and if so, if she could make another for him. Deliver it and I'll cover it. I thought it was perfect. It wasn't pushy, in his face flirting. If he wasn't interested, no big deal. He didn't have to approach me, engage in conversation, or heck, even thank me. I didn't think anything could go wrong. Big freaking mistake. Bartender escorts the drink over to the table. Guy seems curious. Butterflies start vomiting in my stomach. He inquires and she mentions to me. I offer a friendly smile and a wave. They all laugh. Him, his mates, laugh at me. And not a nice laugh. Not a oh hey you just got picked up by a chick. Haha, that's it bro, you got swagger. No, it was holy crap, you got picked up by a fat frick, you must be a pig magnet, sucks to be you. Laugh. One of his mates slap him on the shoulder and that's when he does it. He raises the drink I bought him in a toast, then dumps it out behind him into the potted plant. And here is the part of the story where I wish I could say I stormed over there and slapped him. I wish I could say I tipped my own drink on him. Crap, I wish I could say Batman swooped out of a dark corner of the bar and punched him in the nuts. However, I cannot. I simply turned around immediately and left, feeling the most ashamed, humiliated, embarrassed, fat, ugly, worthless, downtrodden I ever had. At least I made it out the door before the crying started. I haven't been to a bar since. Should have taken that plant home. You already plied it with a drink. Now compliment its pot. I was 17 and in charge of supervising the installation of carpeting in our new apartment, alone. My mom was home packing. This should be an easy task. All I had to do was wander in every couple hours to see how it was going, and the rest of the time I could go for a walk or hang out outside. The installers were 2 guys, maybe in their 30s. Seemed nice enough to begin with. I introduced myself and explained I'd be around the building if needed for any issues. It became rather apparent that one of the 2 was being a little too nice, but I just shrugged it off. I was used to it because I looked older than I was and got hit on by older guys on occasion. The problem is that he didn't stop, and there was a major storm, so I was stuck in the building. Every time I was around, he tried to make small talk. He'd ask things about me and what I liked, and talk about himself a bit. He started to flatter me and be rather openly flirty. I tried to be polite and make it clear I wasn't interested. Eventually he started asking me out on dates and offered me his number. I kept declining, but he didn't stop. To try and hammer in my point, I casually worked my age into a conversation. To my dismay, his response was to flatter me more and tell me that I could always call him when I turned 18 and he'd show me a good time. I think there was some insinuation about it being an adult good time, but I can't remember the wording. His partner looked thoroughly embarrassed and kept trying to avoid eye contact, between sneaking rather disgusted looks towards the guy. It was incredibly awkward and I didn't feel very comfortable because he refused to take no as an answer. At one point I got stuck in the dang elevator with him and he accidentally hit the wrong buttons, then hinted at how nice it was being stuck with me alone. Gave me the total creeps. The day ended with him giving me the company card in case there were any problems, then winking at me and telling me to call him soon. His cell number was on the back. In hindsight, I should have complained to the company itself, because it really disturbed me. I wish I had. TLDR. Creepy carpet installer who was twice my age wouldn't take no for an answer and kept hitting on me all day when I was underage. To those mentioning the legal age of consent being 16 in some states, I'm from Canada. The legal age of consent is 18 here, no matter what province you're in. By his response, I'm pretty sure he was aware of it, too. It's 16 in Canada, but there are some situations where it is still illegal under 18, and the law states the age gap can make a difference in this judgment. I must have confused that a bit. Still, though. I was in Marrakesh, Morocco with my family for vacation a couple years back. As I'm walking through the market with my father, one of the vendors stops us and whispers to me, "Your fair hair is very beautiful." I'm a redhead. He then turns to my father and tells him, "I will give you 30 camels for her." The worst part is that my father shrugged and said 40 and you have a deal. Thankfully the vendor understood that my father was joking. Verbal is binding. She offered to give me a BJ for a hamburger and she was 7 months pregnant. I wish I was lying. My old roommate is a terrible person. She was not my roommate. I bought her the hamburger but didn't accept payment. But as far as I know, my roommate did. Deployed and at the pool on base. I always hung out with a large group of guys that I knew and trusted, plus it helped keep away the creepers. There were always a few guys that would do the whole sup, girl, looking good, kinda thing and I would just laugh it off. I wish that would have happened. He was an older army contractor that was in charge or had the ability to move choose our housing units that we lived in while deployed. Well, some of them have a bathroom in them and are referred to as wet shoes. This guy literally went on for a good 45 minutes about how he could get me a wet shoe and how wet he could get it, all while eyeing me up and winking to put emphasis on the true meaning of his words. So dang creepy. Every time one of my buddies would say something to him, he would just say that he was trying to help me out. I denied his advances and his offers multiple times and eventually he got the hint and left me alone. I heard that he later got banned from the pool for making other women feel uncomfortable. The real kicker is that he was married with 3 kids back in the States. Yuck. My wife is in the military and it seems that the majority of guys in the military just hit on her regardless of the fact that she's married and b, they are also married. It's like a compulsion it seems. I was walking through a mall around my area, wearing a toffet, some classy glasses, a boaty, fake handlebar mustache and, well, a Batman cape. 3 girls ended up giving me their phone numbers, and I have been in a relationship with one of them for about 5 months now. I never understood that. TLDR. Dressed in toffet, boaty, cape, mustache and glasses. Walked in with class, walked out with digits. Walked in with class, walked out with butt. Family camping trip in the summer. We pitch our tents next to a small lazy river. One of the days I was wading around in the clear water, enjoying the sun. There is a group of men at the site next to us and a few of them were in the water away downstream. A little later, one of them came over and started politely chatting with me. He said he'd lost his class ring and I believed him and helped him look for it. After he started mentioned how attractive I was, I noticed he wasn't looking very hard for his lost ring. He thanks me for trying to help him and asks me if I'd like to come over to their site that night to drink beer and play poker with them. I awkwardly say no. Later, I had a bit of an identity crisis with my 16-year-old self. TLDR. 30-ish man hits on teenage girl, results in deep thoughts. I walked into a movie theater and as I was walking by, this gorgeous, tall, amazing brown-eyed guy says, "Excuse me miss, do you believe in love at first sight?" I look up and smile. This guy was so hot. It blew my mind that he was talking to me. This was a first for me. It was obvious his buddies put him up to it. I decided that 2 could play this flirting game. I smiled and said, "Why yes I do." Then I walked off. As I was opening the door into the theater I had this urge to continue. So I turned around and said he could sit next to me if he wanted. He was still standing there with a shocked look on his face. Probably thought he would get smacked for being that forward. I turned to go into the theater and all I hear are pounding footsteps up behind me. We sat together. He ditched his friends to watch my movie with me. 5 minutes later he asked me to run to Vegas and get married. 5 months later we do. We have been happily married for 22 years. Best pickup line ever. That's kinda awesome. Oh. A friend of a friend came to a bar a bunch of my buds used to frequent, and from the get-go it was obvious she wanted to leave with someone. The problem is, she was kind of a loud, obnoxious whale with an extreme air of desperation about her, and all the guys could smell it and stay far away. Myself, I'm just there to drink good beer and hang out, but I'm apparently too nice, and before I know it, her sights are set on me. Whenever we're in proximity to each other, she tries to talk to me, touches me, and laughs at every other word I utter. At one point she hugs me and says, "My god, you smell gorgeous," and proceeds to continue to smell my neck for a few minutes as I semi-resign myself to be devoured by the mammoth beast. While I'm trying to desperately figure out a way to eject from this planner egg, she says something like, "Wow, you're dressed so well. Are you trying to impress us ladies?" That catches me off guard, so I pause, and before I can say something, she continues with, "or someone else other than ladies?" In a really playful tone. Before I know it my brain goes instantly into action. I change my stance, put all my weight on my back leg, rest one arm on that hip, stick my other hand out in a limp wrist, and in the most stereotypically gay voice, yell, "Oh you know it girl," whether she believes me or not. The woman realizes what's just happened and stops all contact with me the rest of the night. I don't know what happened, but my friends still laugh about that to this day. TLDR, my brain uses gay as self-defense against unsavory women. Near closing time at a bar downtown, a guy saw me and decided to open with, "What's your husband think of that?" I'm very eloquent at nearly 2 in the morning, so I said, "What?" He responded with, "Boyfriend?" I say, "I don't have a boyfriend." The gentleman, clearly drunker than I, says wistfully, "I wish this was real." I left then because I had to get a round of water for my friends, but I wish I'd stayed and continued the conversation because we clearly had some chemistry. None of this conversation makes any sense. I've got a bad experience. I'm at the Sears with my brother. All I'm buying is a Perry the Platypus shirt. Go to the cashier. It's a cute girl at the register. She takes my shirt. While she's scanning it, she asks for my number. I say no thanks. I thought she wanted for marketing, sign me up for Sears card. She looks a bit disappointed. She rings up the shirt. I pay. I leave. It wasn't till a few months later that I realized that she wanted my number to call me and hook up. Jeez, I realize I'm SAP. Looking back, I know she wanted to hook up because she didn't do the marketing thing right and her co-worker giggled when I acted so awkward. Bonus story, I'm walking home from middle school, out of pay wearing Axe. I don't use that anymore, and a random girl comes from behind me and says, "You smell good," and kept on walking while I look on and say, "Oh, okay then." I've been in the opposite situation where I asked a customer for their phone number and they stared me down before going on, "No," and then I realized how they took it and got all sad faced. I was with my friends at Steak and Shake at 3 or 4 AM one night. The waitress decided I didn't have to pay for my meal, so all I got was a piece of paper with her phone number on it. I'm the most awkward person that has ever lived, but I gathered my testicles and went to talk to her. 2 minutes later she took the phone number from my hands and said, "Have a nice night." Frick yeah, free meal, no strings attached. I hate how Latino men say something along the lines of, "I can't help it, I'm Latino, I have passion in my blood, makes me want to vomit all over him." Actually, that's hemoglobin. Tangentially related, a friend of mine missed a question on a health exam by saying the blood is full of hemoglobins. I was in line at Starbucks, only one person in front of me and he's placing his order. He finishes ordering his drink and said, "So now what?" The barista behind the counter said, "Now this is the part where you give me money." He calmly asked, "When is the part where you give me your phone number?" She responded with, "Well, this is the part where I introduce you to my husband. He's standing behind you." He looked over his shoulder and sheepishly said hi. I said, "It happens to the best of us." He stared at the ground the entire time waiting for his drink. Preemptively, yes, my wife was wearing her engagement ring and wedding band. When I was 12, I was hanging out by myself in the CD section of Target. This middle-aged dude came up behind me and told me I should model. I didn't realize he was talking to me, so he said it again when I didn't respond. I noticed him looking me up and down, and mumbled something under my breath and scurried off to find my mom. We told security, but as far as I know they never found the guy. I'm a hospital chaplain, and being with people in some of their most vulnerable moments can lead to some pretty ridiculous encounters. Last year I was sitting with a family at the bedside of a rapidly dying elderly woman. I had been speaking with the woman's spouse when his son walked in, sat down, and looked me straight in the eyes as he said, "Is my dad flirting with you?" I bet he was flirting with you. I have to say, you're a very attractive woman, and if it were me, I know that I would be flirting with you. 1. I'm the chaplain. 2. The man's stepmother was dying. 3. He accuses his father, the spouse of said dying woman, married for many years, of flirting with me, at his dying wife's bedside. He went on several minutes later to tell me about his new bride who was still living in China and waiting to move to America. I wish I was making this all up. I would feel better about humanity if I were. One time my friend and I were at a bar and would just sit and wait for a girl to walk by. When one did, we would say hi. If they stopped, we'd say hi. Do you know where my mom went, in a child's voice? One girl came over and straddled my leg and said, "AWW, are you lost?" I seized up and don't remember anything else. Haven't had a girl hit on me ever. Okay. You probably have been hit on, just didn't notice at the time. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.